This is cjhoyle. Today is Saturday, August the 14th, 2021, and today I'm riding my bike here in a park known as G. Ross Lord Park. And in this video I'm going to be riding my bike from here and heading in the east direction, where I'll join up with the Finch Corridor Trail, where I'll be riding as far as Yonge Street at Finch Station. So this park here, we started from the sports pavilion, and there's a bunch of different sporting fields around here, including soccer fields and cricket fields. But this park also has a number of nice recreational trails like this, which I'm just heading down a bit of a hill into a valley. And essentially we're heading in the east direction right now. And at the bottom of this valley is the west branch of the Don River, which I'll be riding across, a little bridge. And this river flows further to the south from here, and eventually it meets up with the Don River, which goes all the way to Lake Ontario. But before it reaches the rest of the Don, it actually goes into a reservoir, which is located to the south of here. And that reservoir is the reason why the Finch Trail is not continuous. Basically, when you reach that reservoir, you have the option of either going to a little bit to the south and doing some sidewalk riding and meeting back up with the trail, or you have the option of coming up north through the scenic route of G. Ross Lord Park. And that's the option that I've elected for today. This is actually the third video on the Finch Trail that I'm filming. So in the previous episode, I reached that juncture point that I was just describing there. And from within this park, if you didn't want to go east, if instead you wanted to go further to the north, there's actually a recreational trail that would curve and head to the north. And there's a trail that continues to follow along beside that same river, and it goes north even beyond the city limits of Toronto into York region. But I'm not going to be taking that route today because I'm heading in the east direction here, so I'm going to make a right turn onto Torresdale Avenue, which actually will take me in the south direction, because my plan is to join onto the Finch Corridor Trail, which is a trail that runs underneath of a bunch of power lines. And as I was saying, aside from this little section here where we have to deviate from it, the majority of the trail sticks directly underneath of those power lines. So at the end of the street here, we've got a driveway to cross, and this goes in between two cemeteries that are built up here. The one that we're going to be passing on the left is a Jewish cemetery, but there's also another cemetery on the right, which I believe is non-denominational. It's called the Westminster Cemetery, or Westminster Memorial Gardens. So there you can see those power lines straight ahead that we'll be riding underneath of. And this first segment of the trail that we'll be riding along is very much dominated by soccer fields. There's only a few things that you can do with land that sits underneath of big, massive, high voltage power lines like this, and sporting fields is one of them. Recreational trails is another one. You also see this land used as parking lot, which we'll see towards the end of the video. There's a rather large parking lot built underneath of, or just sort of directly, a little bit north of the Finch subway station, which is where we're heading for, on Yonge Street. So these first soccer fields that you can see on the left are quite empty right now. You can see a couple of people practicing there. But the other soccer fields further in the east direction look like there's pretty packed right now. It looks like there's a game going on. I'm filming this at around 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Quite a nice day to be out doing things today. It's warm, but not as hot as it's been. It's maybe around 24 or 25 degrees Celsius today, and there's a fair bit of wind, so it's pretty comfortable out, and the sky is nice and blue with lots of sunshine. And there you can see that first soccer game going on over there on the left. Over on the right, you can see a big metal fence. Behind there, there's a municipal stadium. The stadium's been named after a former city councillor for North York. And I believe the stadium's used for athletic events for school-aged children, I'm guessing. I would think that, you know, the local high schools and elementary schools would have their track meets and maybe other types of sporting meets hosted there. And just up here on the left, we've got a parking lot that's for that stadium, and the trail snakes around that parking lot, heading a little bit to the north, but then it continues in the east direction.
Ezra. Oh, sorry, man.
And that's the next intersection that we've got up ahead. The next road is Bathurst Street. And you can see up here on the right, there's a bike share station. In recent years, they've put bike share bikes up here on the trail at a few key locations. Originally, bike share bikes were only a downtown thing, but they've gradually been expanding the system, which I think is great. It's great to give people the option of being able to ride a bike even if they don't own one at a fairly reasonable rate. All right, I'll just press our crosswalk button here and we'll wait our turn to cross Bathurst Street. Bathurst is a fairly major north-south street, so I'm glad that we have a safe crossing here. This trail has gradually been improved over the years, so each time that I make my way up here to North York to ride it, it always seems like they've made one or two minor improvements since the last time. And the crossings are definitely something that's gotten improved. I can remember, times when to cross you would have to kind of jog maybe a little bit to the south or the north to be able to, pick up a crosswalk signal to get across. Not necessarily at this intersection, but I'm just speaking in general about the crossings along this trail. All right, so we're back on the trail and continuing our way, heading in the east direction. You can see lots of other people out enjoying it, including a couple of people riding some electric scooters. Well, people walking dogs, and we saw some people rollerblading earlier. It really is a nice piece of infrastructure here. It's great for people that want to use it for transportation. I mean, you could use it to get from any of the different nodes that you go past along to it. So For example, there's quite a high population density at Finch Station, which is where we're heading in this video. And it's nice that people that live in that neighborhood could get on a bike, perhaps even a bike share bike, and ride it to that large park that we started from. It's a great way for people to have recreation. But it's also great just to go and ride on it, you know, as a place to ride a bike, like what I'm doing right now. So you can see that on our left and a little bit on our right up ahead too, there's some boards that are laid down here in sort of a temporary boardwalk sort of a configuration. If you're the sort of person who likes walking on a boardwalk, well, you could come up here right now and walk on this one, although it's not here for recreational purposes. My understanding is they put stuff out like that underneath the power lines here when they need to do work on them, when they have to drive heavy equipment. And the reason for that is because not only is this a hydro corridor that carries high voltage electrical lines above the ground, but underneath of the ground, there's also an oil pipeline. And from what I understand, to protect that equipment, they don't want heavy machinery driving over top of it and potentially damaging the pipeline equipment underneath of the ground. So we've got another road crossing up ahead. This road is called Grant Brook Street, and I will looking for the bike crosswalk signal button here. These intersections have not only the bike signal, but they have a separate button for the pedestrian crossings. So if you want to use the button, you have to, well, they probably both do the same thing, but there is one that's designated for bikes and one that's designated for pedestrians. And potentially if both buttons get pressed, maybe the traffic light changes quicker. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, you know, not only is it great for transportation, but it's great for recreation. If you want, you know, if you're the sort of person who likes to ride, you know, a bike long distances or likes to ride pretty fast, this is a pretty good option of trails to come on because it's, you know, it's relatively quiet. I mean, you don't see it clogged up with people the way that you do down on the waterfront trail, Martin Goodman Trail. And it goes on for a long distance, so you just get on it somewhere and you can ride quite far along it. In fact, this trail also connects up nicely with two other trails, or really I guess three other trails, one of them being that waterfront trail that I was describing. So that one can take you you can do basically what I'm trying to say is you can do a big loop of the city of Toronto, which includes this along the north side of it, the waterfront trail along the south side of it, and then on the east and west, you've got the Don Valley Trail in other words, and on the west end, you've got the Humber Trail, and this trail actually connects directly up with the Don Trail, but on the west side, there's kind of a gap in the trail where you have to ride on the road. But if you don't mind doing that, you can do a big loop of the city, which I think is around 75 kilometers or so. It's a pretty common thing for people that like riding long distances who live in Toronto to do. It's sort of known as the loop. All right, I apologize for the wind noise. It's kind of windy in here in this corridor. We've got one final roadway crossing to go across. This one is called Talbot Road. I wonder if it's named after Thomas Talbot, who is the same Thomas that the city of St. Thomas is named after in southwestern Ontario. All right, there's our green light, and we'll make our way across. And over there on the left, you can see a large parking lot. That's the parking lot for the Finch subway station that I was describing earlier. And there's a short section of trail here that's actually doesn't exist. We're riding on the small, quiet residential street instead. But up ahead, we'll be brought into a park, which is called Hendon Park. Which has a bunch of baseball fields. Just gonna have a sip of water. It's good to see lots of people out enjoying this park as well on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. You can hear a plane flying overhead. And from here the trail continues, and there's a link to get back out of this park. This link here was added just a few years ago. It was one of those minor improvements that came one year. And I believe they reoriented some of the parking lot to allow for this extra space here for the trail to follow. But that road that you can see up ahead there, that traffic light is Yonge Street, and underneath of that road is where the Yonge subway line ends at Finch Station. I do plan on riding further along the Finch Corridor Trail, but that will not be included in this video. I hope you enjoyed joining me on this section of this narrated tour. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.